your undivided attention, please. Thank you. A tribute to Jack. Precious in the sight of the Lord is the death of his saints. Psalm 116, verse 15. Pastors, I have to call your name, elders, families, dear friends, I crave your indulgence at this time as I provide a condensed version of some thoughts and reflection of Jack Whicker. He was the patriarch of the church. I met Jack here over 24 years ago. He welcomed me with open arms. At times, he sat at the lunch table with Janet, Mervis, and I, and we had good conversation. Over 15 years ago, I had a bad accident. Jack and Pastor Dave were the first to visit after I came out of the ICU. They brought me beautiful flowers and a book, Purpose-Driven Life. Jack contributed to my Dorcas ministry platform in Jamaica. They loved him dearly. He lived his life as an extension of his faith and conviction. He was the epitome of a well-grounded, dedicated Christian man. He was very helpful, caring, and giving. Jack was a dignified, distinguished man. His courage, leadership skills, knowledge, and substance made an indelible mark on many. No one knows what time we have. We must live in the moment, love the moment, and do in the moment. Jack was a treasure from a treasure surrounded by treasure. Jack, you are greatly missed by your family, church family, neighbors, and the community. Jack was a good man indeed, and a magnificent soul. Good evening.
What to say, except that we sure are going to miss Jack. He was such a special person. He was such a unique, wonderful gentleman, and one in a million. He was always there, always generous to a fault. He was always interested in who you were, what you were doing, what was going on in your life. And I have Jack to thank for helping Caroline learn to drive and get her driver's license.
I was going to talk about that from me. Look at me she's trying to snipe my testimony, my word. So, yeah, Jack taught me how to drive. And that was a huge deal for me because I was a terrified 21-year-old who I hadn't had to drive in college. And quite frankly, the idea of driving terrified me because our family has an unfortunate history with car crashes claiming lives of people that we love. And so I had all this stuff build up in my head, and Jack was able to swoop in and force me to do it. And he was sometimes, when I say hard, I don't mean unkind. I just meant that his captain air came out, that he was firm. He really was teaching me how to fly a plane on the earth. And I mean, clearly, I'm 30 now, and I'm still alive, and I've carried passengers, and he took the job that my dad should have taken, but couldn't at the time, and I am infinitely grateful for him to step in and fill that role for me in my life. He just came out of nowhere, and there it was. So, I mean, I still don't understand how he could go. He was one of those people that he's always there. He's just a fixture of the church. And for him to be gone, it just feels impossible. And I know we'll see him again. I know we will. But, you know, he was just there. And in spirit, he is still here. So, did you want to add anything else?
Just say, I'll see you in the morning, Jack.
Amen. Thank you.
Well, I hadn't really planned on doing a tribute, but I also think about Jack, and to know Jack Whicker is to love him, and we certainly did. Our family, it's such an impact on me, and my wife, and my boys, and we all have that giant stuffed bear that is emblematic of one of Jack's favorite gifts to give kids. And I remember many lunches of having with him, and just out of the blue, he said, hey, we haven't had lunch in a while. Let's meet. But the one memory that I want to share that is unique to me is Jack had a passion for making sure that the sermons were recorded for posterity. And he would get the sermons copied on CDs at the time. It was before we did a lot of live streams and online broadcasts and podcasts and such. And it was his passion to get these things made available for anyone who wanted it, a CD of any service. And he had asked me to make some CDs for him some time back, and he said to me, he said, well, if you want something done, you give it to a busy person. And so he said, would you be so kind as to copy this CD for me? And so it took me longer than I'd like. And he said, hey, how's that CD copying coming? I said, well, I've got a few done, but I'd like to do a little more. I'm sorry it's taken me so long. It takes my machine 15 or 20 minutes to copy a CD. He said, oh, really? And the next thing I know, our church has an industrial strength CD copier in the back, and he's got it mastered, and we're pumping out CDs for anyone who wants them as quickly as you want. And that was just the kind of guy that Jack was. When he found a need and saw it was within his power to act, he would do it. And so I'm grateful for the 15 years that I knew Jack, and I look forward to seeing him again.
Jack Whicker was always a really special person for the kids in this church. If they had a graduation or a baptism, he always wanted to support that with a gift and a card, and most often a special Bible. If a child was going to participate in a mission trip and made an appeal for money, Jack was always there lending a hand. And I like to think that there will be many appreciative young people in heaven that will come up to Jack and say, hey, you gave me a start on service because you made it possible for me to go and serve. We love you, Jack. Always remember you.
Jack Whicker was one of the sweetest, kindest, most loving men in this church. He was so special. When Jim's aunt and uncle moved here from Colorado, she started having health problems. She had cancer for the second time. And him and Harold went to her house. And Jack took her a plant and prayed with her, and they anointed her. And she told me several years later that was the sweetest thing that happened to her throughout that bout of cancer. She said, I will never forget Jack Whicker. And a second thing that he did that was so precious to me was one year at Truly Christmas, we had just gotten several people at the Hispanic church that had never been to Truly Christmas. And Jack said, is there anything else that you need? Anything before this starts? And I said, the only thing that worries me is that our pastor said that day during the sermon, everybody be sure and come to Truly Christmas tonight. And my fear was all these women that had not made reservations and did not have tables and place settings were going to show up. So I told him, I said, just pray about it because that's all I know to do. And he said, well, I don't have any dishes, but I can take care of anything else. So I set another table with extra dishes, and he went to Walmart and he bought napkins. He bought table favors. And he was going to buy a centerpiece, and I said, no, I'll use one of the poinsettias at church. So I grabbed a poinsettia out of the foyer, put it in the center of a table. It was a beautiful table, and no one showed up. So I told him later the only thing that outweighed his generosity was his prayers, because we didn't have an influx of people with nowhere to sit. He was always special, always giving gifts to the children, to the adults. He was truly one of God's servants, and I miss him already.
My name is Evan Davis, and Jack Whicker was very close to our family. My first recollection of him was when he first came to our church, and went to an art festival with him and Joanne, and it was right after my brother passed away, and he was very encouraging. I didn't know him very well at the time, but he was extremely encouraging and just a super nice guy, and as everybody knows. But through the years, we got to know him very well. He became a grandfather, adopted grandfather to both my girls. They called him Grandpa, and he has just been a huge asset to my family, but also this church, and all here at the church have known him. He will be missed incredibly. I got to speak to him just a couple of weeks before this happened, and he had sent me some books of encouragement for some health issues I've been going through and other things, and he was very, very encouraging, and sent me some literature that was very uplifting, and a personal note and card, like he always does, to go with it. And I have those at home right now. And I get to go through those. And I'll have those to remember him by for a while. So anyway, Jack, we're going to miss you. Thank you so much for being you and all you've done for all those in the church and all those that got to know you. It's been a blessing. Thank you.
I just want to say something about Jack Whicker real quick. He was a great guy. Whatever you needed something, Jack was right there for you. I love the way he just looked after the little people, it seemed like. I'm not sure where this is going to go, but I like the teddy bear ministry he did with the kids. And my grandson loves the little teddy bear he gave him. He's a great man. He's an honorable man. He'll be deeply missed. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Ian. As some of you may know, public speaking isn't exactly my favorite thing to do. But seeing that it's for Mr. Jack, I have to say something. One of my earliest experiences with Mr. Jack was a giant teddy bear. See, we were walking out of church when I found this massive stuffed bear in our trunk. So I asked, "Where'd this bear come from?" And of course, Mom answered, it was from Mr. Jack. A little bit later, we were driving home, and I just couldn't stop looking at this bear. It was the coolest thing. We still have this big old bear. It's been worn over the years, but it still remains a reminder of Mr. Jack's generosity. That's not all Mr. Jack's done for me, but to write it all down would take several inches more paper, several inches thick. Anyway, I'm running out of space here, so one final thing I want to say is Jack's love and generosity towards us is truly something to be remembered. Thanks.